OdeeLoccSportsInfo here, back with another vid for you guys. Yeah, y'all, hit that subscribe, like, bell icon so y'all can be notified when I drop these streams because you know OdeeLoc keeps it real. Let's go, y'all. So, is Luiz Ortiz ducking Hrgovic, or is the IBF playing games, right, with the final eliminator? Again, I will say, is Luiz Ortiz ducking Hrgovic, or is the IBF playing games with the final eliminator, right? So let's look into this. That's my watch going off in the background. Let's look at this. Let's go back. Let's look at this. Let me share the screen with you guys. Is Luiz Ortiz ducking, or is the IBF playing games, right? Let's go to the IBF ranking system. Let's go here first, right? As you guys can see, Hrgovic Usyk, number one. The champion. Charles Martin was number one, right? Luiz Ortiz was number 9, right? Cut off this heater. Luiz Ortiz was number 9. Charles Martin, number 1. Luiz Ortiz, number 9, right? As you guys can see on the screen, Charles Martin, number 1. Luiz Ortiz was number 9, right? And this was for a final eliminator. Well, according to the IBF, right? It was for a final eliminator. So for all the people that's saying that Louis Kong Ortiz is ducking Hrgovic, no, the IBF is playing games with Louis King Kong Ortiz, right? Because the fight with him and Charles Martin was a final eliminator. So how many final eliminators do Louis or King Kong Ortiz got to go through, right? Okay, now we're going to remove that. Let's go to, let me share this with you. Charles Martin, right? And I'm about to prove it. Charles Martin versus Louis King Kong Ortiz was a final eliminator. It was a final eliminator. So, as you guys see on the screen, Louis Ortiz stops Charles Martin in 6th round in IBF eliminator. Right? So how many eliminators do Louis King Kong Ortiz or Charles Martin got to go through? Right? How many final eliminators? How many eliminators? This was an eliminator. So Louis King Kong Ortiz, he beats the number 1 guy in the IBF. Now he got to fight the number 2 guy in the IBF. Then if he beats the number 2 guy, right, he got to fight the number 3 guy. What's going on, y'all? This is why I say, y'all, like, that boxing is full of bullshit. So now we got videos out here. Oh, Louis King Kong Ortiz, he's ducking, he ducking Hrgovic. No, he's not. The IBF is playing games. And don't nobody got time to play no games with the IBF. Right? Don't nobody got time to play no games. Okay, now we're going to remove that. Stop sharing that screen. Let's go to something else. I'm about to just prove everything I'm saying. Right? That was an eliminator. Him versus Charles Martin was an eliminator. Now he has to fight. Now he has to fight Hrgovic in a final eliminator, and he rejects it. Right, and now everybody's saying, "Oh, he's ducking." No, The IBF is playing games with old ass Louis King Kong Ortiz. They playing games, and don't nobody got no time to play games. Right? They literally playing games with this man. So he fight the number one, right? He gets dropped twice, but he eventually stops Charles Martin, the number one. Now he has to fight the number two. Make it make sense. Right? And I know that people, they're gonna come, oh, OdeeLoc, man, you defending King Kong Ortiz. I like King Kong Ortiz, right? I like King Kong Ortiz. But this is bullshit. Bullshit is bullshit, y'all. Period. It doesn't matter what boxer is going through it, it's bullshit, right? So you put him in an eliminator against the number one. He knocks out the number one. Now you want him to take on the number two? Right? Now you want him to take on the number two instead of just waiting for the winner of the IBF, fight between Usyk and AJ, and then he takes on that person. Right? Something is going on. They playing with Ortiz. They playing with they playing with Ortiz. They playing with him, right? So he takes on Charles Martin. Let's go back. Right? Because I got to prove everything I'm saying. So he takes on Charles Martin. Who is the number one. He takes on Charles Martin, who's the number one, right? Now he got to take on number two. What if he beat number two? Then he got to fight Parker too? Right? So these IBF rankings, they not even making really sense. Right? It got Joseph Parker number 3, but it got AJ behind Joseph Parker when he's about to fight for the belt again. I mean, come on, y'all. Charles Martin, number 1, he gets knocked out, gets stopped, right, in brutal fashion by Louis King Kong Ortiz. Now Ortiz got to fight number 2. But I thought that was an eliminator. Right? And I know that people, they're going, oh, no, it wasn't a final eliminator. It wasn't it. Bro, how many eliminators do you got to go through? This a gauntlet now? So you fight number 1, you stop number 1, now you got to go through number 2? Right? They should make Louis King Kong Ortiz mandatory. They should make him mandatory for whoever wins the fight. Right? They should make him mandatory. He fought for it. He won the number 1 position. Right? He should be able to, to petition for a Mando. He should be able to do that. But no, the IBF, they want to throw him in, right, with a more younger fighter than Charles Martin, right? A much younger fighter than Charles Martin, right? Because they seen what happened with him and Charles Martin. They trying to get Louis King Kong Ortiz beat. Right? And they trying to get Hrgovic to beat him so he can have Ortiz's name on his resume. Right? Because there's no way that Louis King Kong Ortiz should have to fight another eliminator when he just fought the number 1 person at the IBF, in the IBF. He should be able to petition for his mandatory spot. right? Because if that's the case, he should have just fought Hrgovic, right? He should have just fought Hrgovic. No, but what the IBF about to do now, they about to fuck over Ortiz, right? They about to put Hrgovic in that #1 spot. This is what it was all about in the first place. They was gonna fuck Martin too, right? They was gonna fuck him over too. See, when you look at boxing, like for a long period of time, you start picking up the patterns. You pick up the patterns of these sanctioning bodies, right? You pick up their patterns. So Luis King Kong Ortiz fights an eliminator. Let me share it again. Let's share it again. Luis King Kong Ortiz fights an eliminator against the #1 guy, right? Against the #1 guy in the IBF. The #1 guy. He fights a eliminator. He wins the eliminator. Now they give him a final eliminator. So he has to take on #2 now, when he could have just took on #2 from the beginning. Right? He could have took on Hrgovic from the beginning. And then the winner of that fight could have took on Charles Martin. Right? So why didn't they put Luis King Kong Ortiz versus Hrgovic in the first place? That should have been a eliminator to get to Charles Martin, right? And make it a final eliminator. No, but they doing shit ass backwards. Because they want to fuck over Luis King Kong Ortiz. They want his name on certain people's resumes because Wilder beat him, right? Because Wilder beat him. So if I can get his name on my resume, right, that'll give me a little bit of status because he only beat by one, right? Because he only been beat by one person, and that's Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder, right? Come on, man. Come on, man. Like the IBF is playing games, and I hear Luis King Kong Ortiz. I hear him, right? Hell yeah, I would reject it too. Yes, I will reject it too. Okay, now let's go to the next one. Yes, I will reject it too. Now I got to fight #2. Already beat up and stopped #1. Now I got to fight the #2 guy. Y'all already knew what I was gonna do, right? The sanctioning bodies, they already knew he was gonna decline. They already knew he was gonna reject that shit. So what they're gonna do now? Watch when the new IBF rankings come in. It's gonna have Hrgovic #1. Mark my words. It's gonna have him #1 instead of Luis King Kong Ortiz. It's gonna have him #1. This is just what sanctioning bodies do, right? And I don't want people to, OdeeLoc, man, you trying to put no. I'm showing you what they did. I'm showing you exactly what they did. They said the Charles Martin versus Luis King Kong Ortiz fight was for a eliminator. And then after Ortiz beat Charles Martin, who is the #1 at IBF, he has to fight the #2. So why didn't he just fight the #2 from the beginning, and then he could have fought the #1? Or did they want to see, or did they want to see how Charles Martin and Luis King Kong Ortiz, they beat up each other, right? Or like Hrgovic, he can see the flaws in both fighters, right? Then he can decide to take on this fight. But as far as ducking, no, Ortiz is not ducking this man. I showed you proof. The IBF playing games. They playing games with this man. So he beat the number one. He didn't, I mean, come on, he beat the number one guy in the IBF, heavyweight IBF. So why can't he take on a mandatory? So why can't he petition to be the mandatory for the winner of Usyk versus Anthony Joshua? If he just beat the number one guy in the IBF, why can't he petition to be, the Mando? Why they won't give him that chance? Why they want him to take on number two now? When he could have took on number two from the beginning. And they could have fought, and the winner of that fight could have fought Charles Martin. They doing this shit backwards. They doing this shit backwards, and the sanctioning bodies know what they doing. So I feel Luis King Kong Ortiz. I would have rejected that shit too. Y'all playing games, right? Y'all playing games because who's to say if I beat Hrgovic, y'all not gonna make me take on Joseph Parker, right? In a final eliminator. A final eliminator. Come on, man. These sanctioning bodies, man. I thought the IBF was better than this. I mean, for real. I really thought the IBF was the only, was really like the only sanctioning body, right, that has some, that has something. Plug up this laptop. Right. I thought the IBF was the only sanctioning body that was about something. But it seems now they on bullshit too. Right? They let Spence get away with not giving them a mandatory in 2-3 years. His ass haven't been stripped. They haven't put no pressure on him, right? So they must be getting paid good. They getting paid good. Meanwhile, on the other end, Luis King Kong Ortiz, he takes on the number one guy in the IBF, knocks him out in a brutal fashion. Now he has to take on a number two in a final eliminator. But the first fight was an eliminator. See, the IBF, come on. They falling in line like the rest of these sanctioning bodies, right? They falling in fucking line. How in the hell could Errol Spence Jr. get away with not giving them a mandatory for 3 years? I don't care if he was injured. He did it to himself. He did it to his damn self. It had nothing to do with boxing. Nothing. Right when he got in that car accident, it had nothing to do with boxing. That was personal shit. But what happens? He get to hold up the whole division, right? He gets to hold it up because the IBF, they must be getting paid real good from Al Heyman, right? Real good. Yeah, y'all, but let's go over it one more time. One more time before I'm up out of here. So the IBF, let's go to the ranking system one more time. We're going to go there. Charles Martin's number one. Hrgovic number two. Charles Martin, Hrgovic. Luis King Kong Ortiz was number 9. 1, 2, 9. Right? Ortiz just beat the number one guy. So he's in the number one spot now, right? So why can't he petition for his Mando? Why does he have to fight Hrgovic? Right? Why? Why does he have to fight Hrgovic? Hrgovic is number 2. he should be able to get his Mando. Period. Point blank. Get his shot at another title. He should be able to get his shot at another title. Period. Point blank. But no. No. They're going to throw another eliminator in there, right? Because they seen how shaky Ortiz was on those legs. They seen he's slowing down, and they want Hrgovic to get him. And they want Hrgovic to get him, right? So he can have Louis King Kong name on his resume, right? But with all that said, like I said earlier in the video, in the stream, watch when the new IBF rankings come out. They're going to have Hrgovic at number 1. Because Louis King Kong Ortiz, he rejected the final eliminator. Even though I don't see how it's ducking. The IBF playing games. They playing games. And if you feed into it, they're going to keep on playing games with your ass. Right? So Louis King Kong Ortiz, he fought for their spot. Give him his spot. Let him be the mandatory. Let him get the Mando. Right? Let him get the mandatory. And let him fight for another belt. He just beat the number 1 guy in the IBF. He should get the winner of, Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua when the mandatory comes up. But the IBF, they on the bull, just like the WBC, WBA, and the WBO, right? They all on this nonsense. They all want to, fuck off boxing, right? They want to mess boxing up too. Just like these, these channels, they want to destroy boxing, man. It's not about giving us the fights we want to see. It's not about, doing the stuff that we want. The boxing fans, the people who make this shit go round. Right? Because without us, the boxing fans, these dudes would just be fighting. Right? If it didn't have boxing fans that wanted to pay for these fights and see these fights, these dudes would just be signing up to be fighting in back alleys. Come on, man. Boxing fans make the boxing, go round. And until we realize that, man, I'm done. Yeah, y'all, but Louis King Kong Ortiz, in my opinion, he's not ducking. The IBF is playing games, right? They have got on the same nonsense as these other sanctioning bodies. They playing games. And if I was Louis King Kong Ortiz, I would have did the same thing. Like, what? I just fought the number 1. Why the fuck I need to fight the number 2? For what reason? I just beat the number 1 guy. I'm the mandatory. I should get my mandatory spot. Period. I shouldn't have to fight the number 2. Right, the number 2, he should fight number 3. Then shit. Like, you feel what I'm saying? And then they told me, and then they wait for me to get my mandatory. Then they can fight for the number 1 spot. Number 2 and 3, they fight for the number 1 spot after I get my mandatory. But no, boxing doesn't work like that. The IBF, they on the same stuff as all the rest of these sanctioning bodies. And how you know? Because they letting Errol Spence Jr. get away with not giving him a mandatory for 3 years. So 2-3 years, he haven't gave them a mandatory, and they haven't even talked about him vacating, him being stripped, nothing. Right? Nothing. So they pockets getting greased real good. Real good. For real. Yeah, y'all, that's all I got on this one. Hit the subscribe, hit that like, hit that bell icon so y'all can be notified when I drop this reel. I will probably come back with another stream either later tonight or probably tomorrow. We'll see how it works out. But yeah, y'all, this OdeeLoccSportsInfo, I'm gone.